Ever feel like motivation is this elusive beast, here 1 minute and gone the next?
Hmm.
You're not alone.
Yeah.
You've sent us a stack of research on this, so today we're diving deep into what makes us tick, what drives us, what helps us achieve, and why we sometimes stumble.
And what's really intriguing is that motivation, it isn't just some like abstract concept.
Right.
It's woven into the very fabric of our being,
Hmm.
all the way from like our basic instincts to our loftiest aspirations.
Right. To kick things off, I want to introduce you to someone who embodies this incredible drive. Ewood Vermont, a Belgian Paralympian. Imagine pushing yourself to your absolute limit,
Wow.
only to be denied the gold by a controversial jury decision.
Oh man.
Yeah.
It's in those moments of immense challenge that we often see the raw power of human motivation.
Yeah.
Instead of letting this setback crush him, he would dug deep, pushing through physical pain and emotional turmoil to win silver in the road time trial just days later. His story, it beautifully illustrates a concept known as homeostasis.
Okay, so homeostasis. It sounds a bit technical. Break it down for us.
Essentially, it's our body's constant drive to maintain balance.
Yeah.
Think about it, like when you're hungry, you eat.
Right.
When you're tired, you sleep.
Mm-hmm.
These basic drives are your body's way of restoring equilibrium. Psychologist Clark Hull, he believed this drive for balance, it extended beyond just physical needs to encompass our emotional and psychological states as well.
So in Hewitt's case, after that initial setback, his drive to compete, to prove himself, it was his way of regaining a sense of balance.
Precisely.
Yeah.
But here's where things get even more interesting.
Mm.
Human motivation, it isn't just about reacting to deficiencies or setbacks.
Okay.
We're also driven by a desire for growth,
Mm-hmm.
for reaching our full potential.
Right.
And this is where Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs comes in.
Okay, Maslow's hierarchy, it's iconic for a reason, right? It's
Yeah.
like it's psychology 101.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Maslow recognized that while our basic needs, they're essential,
Right.
they're just the foundation.
Okay.
He proposed that we're driven by a hierarchy of needs, each building on the last,
Mm-hmm.
ultimately culminating in this beautiful concept of self-actualization.
Okay, so walk us through this pyramid. What are the different levels?
Well, at the base, we have our physiological needs,
Right.
the essentials for survival, food, water, sleep. Above that is the need for safety and security, feeling safe and protected in our environment.
Okay.
Think of it as building a sense of stability in our world.
Right. And connecting that back to Ewood, his intense physical training, pushing his body to its limits, that speaks to those foundational physiological needs.
Absolutely. As we move up the pyramid, we encounter the need for love and belonging. That deep-seated human desire for connection, intimacy, and a sense of belonging within our relationships and communities.
And I imagine Ewood's support system, his family, friends, fellow athletes, they played a crucial role in fulfilling that need, especially in those challenging moments.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
And this sense of connection, it can be a powerful motivator in itself.
Yeah.
Moving up the pyramid further, we arrive at the need for esteem, the desire for self-respect, confidence, achievement, and recognition from others.
Okay.
Winning that silver medal, it was about more than just the medal itself, right?
Right.
It was about proving his resilience, his skill, and ultimately fulfilling that need for accomplishment.
It's like a validation of all the hard work and dedication he'd poured into his training.
Exactly. And finally, we reach the pinnacle of Maslow's pyramid self-actualization.
Okay.
This level is about striving to become the best version of ourselves, living a life of purpose and meaning, and fulfilling our unique potential.
It's interesting because while we don't know all the specifics of Ivy's aspirations, you could argue that his dedication to his sport, his perseverance in the face of adversity, it speaks to a desire to reach his full potential, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely.
Maslow's hierarchy, it paints a pretty compelling picture, wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely.
But like any good theory, it has its limitations, right?
It does, yeah. One of the main criticisms is that it doesn't fully account for the role of choice.
Right.
We're not just passively climbing a pyramid of needs.
Right.
We're active agents, making choices that shape our motivations and ultimately our lives.
And what about the impact of our environment, our social circles, our culture? Surely those factors play a role in what motivates us, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
This is where self-determination theory, or SDT, comes in.
Okay.
It delves into those very nuances, exploring how our social environment can either support or hinder our motivation.
Okay. SDT. You mentioned this earlier. It's supposed to be a real game changer. Break it down for us.
At its core, SDT argues that we all have three fundamental psychological needs: autonomy, relatedness, and competence.
Okay.
When these needs are satisfied, we thrive.
Right.
We're more motivated, more engaged, and ultimately more fulfilled.
So it's not just about achieving your goals, it's about how we achieve them
Yes.
and the environment we create for ourselves in the process.
Precisely.
Okay.
Let's take autonomy, for example.
Okay.
It's that feeling of being in the driver's seat of your own life,
Right.
making choices that align with your values, rather than feeling pressured by external forces.
Mm-hmm.
Think about Ewood for a moment.
Okay.
Yes, he had coaches and trainers guiding him, but ultimately it was his decision to push through the pain, to dig deep and compete.
Right.
That sense of ownership over his journey, it likely fueled his motivation.
That makes a lot of sense. So it's about finding that sweet spot between external support and internal drive. What about this idea of relatedness? How does that factor into motivation?
Relatedness is all about feeling connected to others, feeling a sense of belonging and genuine care within our relationships.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about Ewood's support system?
Yeah.
His family, friends, fellow athletes? They provided that crucial sense of connection, which undoubtedly played a role in his perseverance.
Because when you feel supported, encouraged, part of something larger than yourself, it gives you that extra push to keep going, right? Especially when things get tough.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, we have competence, the need to feel effective in our actions, to experience a sense of mastery and accomplishment.
Okay.
It's that feeling of, like, I can do this.
Right.
I'm good at this.
Right.
And again, think about Ewood's dedication to his training.
Right.
It allowed him to continuously improve, to refine his skills, and ultimately experience a sense of mastery over his sport.
So it's not just about setting goals. It's about creating opportunities for growth and achievement along the way.
Yes. Sure.
That's where the real motivation kicks in. I'm curious though, are there any studies that actually prove SDT holds water?
There are actually some really compelling studies that support the principles of SDT.
Okay.
One study, for example, found that even subtle cues of autonomy versus control could significantly impact motivation.
Wow.
They had participants work on a challenging task,
Mm-hmm.
and those who were given a sense of choice in how they approached the task
Mm-hmm.
persisted longer and reported feeling more intrinsically motivated compared to those who were given strict instructions.
Wow, that's fascinating. So even just feeling like we have some autonomy, some ownership over our actions can really make a difference. What about the other side of the coin? What happens when these needs, autonomy, relatedness, competence, are neglected or thwarted?
That's when we start to see problems arise: procrastination, low self-esteem, even aggression. There's one study that really highlights this.
Okay.
Researchers had participants play a rigged game of Tetris, where one group was consistently set up to fail.
Oh.
The game was designed to be frustratingly difficult, undermining their sense of competence.
Right.
And guess what?
What?
Afterwards, that group displayed significantly more aggressive behavior compared to the control group who played a fair game.
Yikes, that's a little unnerving.
Yeah.
But it makes you realize just how powerful these psychological needs are and how crucial it is to create environments that support them. So we've talked about, what motivates us in general, but let's get specific. What about achievement motivation? That drive to succeed, to conquer that next goal, to, well, maybe sometimes avoid failure at all costs.
Right. It's a fascinating aspect of motivation, isn't
Yeah.
it? Because the fear of failure itself can be a powerful motivator,
Right.
pushing us to prove ourselves, sometimes even to our detriment.
Right? It's like this double-edged sword. So how does this all tie into the whole intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation conversation? I mean, we've all experienced that difference between doing something because we genuinely love it
Right.
versus doing it for the external validation.
Absolutely.
Right.
And finding that balance is key. Too much emphasis on external rewards, like constant praise or excessive bonuses, it can actually backfire.
Right.
It's called over-justification, where the external reward overshadows the internal satisfaction we once got from the activity itself.
Right.
Suddenly, something we used to love, it feels more like an obligation.
Speaking of losing motivation, let's talk about a challenge. I think we all face procrastination.
Yeah.
You know, that universal struggle of putting things off, even when we know it's not in our best interest. I'm a master procrastinator myself. Deadline.
Yeah.
What deadline?
Right. You're in good company.
Yeah.
Procrastination is a common human experience, and it often gets framed as a time management issue, but it's really more about this inherent conflict between our short-term and long-term goals.
Okay, I can see that. So my short-term goal might be to avoid studying for that big exam because, well, frankly, it's stressful.
Right.
But my long-term goal is obviously to ace the exam and get closer to achieving my academic goals. It's like my brain is stuck in first gear.
Exactly. It's that instant gratification versus delayed reward dilemma. And
Yeah.
that's where self-control comes in. It's our ability to resist those immediate gratifications in pursuit of something more meaningful, more aligned with our long-term goals.
Easier said than done, right? I mean, self-control is hard.
It is.
How can we actually strengthen that self-control muscle and break free from procrastination's clutches? Are there any practical strategies we can use?
Absolutely. And remember those core psychological needs we discussed earlier.
Yep.
Autonomy, relatedness, and competence.
Hmm.
Well, they play a huge role in combating procrastination too.
Okay. So how can we tap into those needs to boost our self-control? Give us the good stuff.
Well, first off, leveraging social support can be incredibly effective. When we feel connected to others who share our goals, it taps into that need for relatedness,
Mhm.
and it provides a sense of accountability.
Right.
Suddenly, we're not just letting ourselves down if we slack off, but potentially our study buddy or workout partner as well.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like having a built-in cheering section,
Yes,
but also someone who's gonna hold you accountable.
exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the power of breaking down like large, daunting tasks into smaller, more manageable steps.
Right.
This directly addresses our need for competence. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by one massive goal, we gain a sense of accomplishment with each small step we take.
So it's like that saying, how do you eat an elephant?
Right.
One bite at a time.
Yes. Yeah.
It's about making those goals feel less intimidating by breaking them down into bite-sized pieces.
Exactly. And each bite we take, each small step we accomplish, it fuels our motivation, making us
Yeah.
more likely to keep going.
This has been incredibly insightful. We've covered so much ground, from the biological underpinnings of motivation to the complexities of achievement motivation and procrastination.
And we've seen how these principles play out in the real world, through the inspiring story of Ewood, Vermont.
Ewood's journey, it reminds us that motivation isn't about some magical formula or a straight shot to the finish line. It's about understanding our own unique drivers,
Mhm.
cultivating a supportive environment, and finding that sweet spot between, pushing ourselves and celebrating our progress along the way.
Beautifully said. And as you continue on your own journey, remember that understanding the dynamics of motivation, it equips you with invaluable tools to navigate the inevitable ups and downs, to pursue your goals with greater purpose and clarity, and ultimately to unlock your own version of success.
And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive into motivation. We hope you've gained some valuable insights and, who knows, maybe even a little boost of motivation yourself. Until next time, keep exploring, keep striving, and keep that fire burning.